This is Volusia Today, a public information radio program brought to you by the County of Volusia.
Good morning, Volusia County. My name is Michael Ryan, and you are listening to Volusia Today, your one and only trusted source for local news in Volusia County.
That was perfect.
Was that decent?
It was lovely.
Sheldon's going to argue with me later, but she thinks she's the one and only source. But I have to remind her it's us. Clayton, good morning. How are you today?
I am doing terrific, Michael. How about yourself?
Good. You got big plans for the weekend?
Not too much. Just kind of a low-key weekend to spend with the family, winding down from the holidays, getting ready for 2025. So, yeah, not too much.
Yeah, same thing. After the holidays and stuff, I'm ready for a little bit of a break and a little bit of peace and quiet. I tell you what, Clayton, we normally head straight into some news on the show, but we have a very special guest today that I'd like to just dig right in and have maximize my conversation with him. Today, actually, why don't you introduce our guest?
I'd be honored to. So today we have Volusia County Manager George Recktenwald. How are you doing today, George?
Great. It's a great day.
George, thank you for taking time out of your schedule. We all know you're pretty busy to be here today. We very much appreciate that, and we always value this end of the year conversation with you, and to kind of wrap up what happened in 2024, and now we're heading into 2025. So if you were gonna sum up 2024 for Volusia County, the county as an entity and the community as a whole, in a couple words, how would you do that?
I think it's been a very busy year. We kind of went through a transition that was a big election.
Mm-hmm.
But the outcome of that, though, was that we stayed pretty much the same in county government. But as far as the year, an exciting year, a lot of big positive developments that occurred out there. And it was certainly a year with challenges because we had, of course, Milton really was an unwelcome visitor to us this year. So,
George, I tell you what, let's talk about Hurricane Milton real quick. That was, Clayton, was that October? I forget the exact date.
Yes, beginning of October.
It was the beginning. Okay. When you spend a week at the Emergency Operations Center, you tend to lose track of time and dates and stuff. We had a couple of George, what I call close calls prior to Milton, with Helene and I think there's
Debbie.
And Debbie. That was the other one, right? But Milton really was the big one for us this year. Can you talk a little bit about the impacts it had on Volusia County?
Yeah. Well, Milton, of course, was a big storm for us. Another big rainmaker. We had Ian a few years ago that dumped over 20 inches of rain down in the New Smyrna Beach area. This one was a little less than that, but there were pockets in the 20-inch range. Other areas, probably a kind of an average of 16, 18 inches of rain. And, of course, the other part of the storm is the surge that comes with it. It wasn't much of a windstorm. I mean, you had some wind damage, mainly because I think of the saturation that occurred. The other thing about this storm is, like you said, we had some near misses. We had a lot of unstable weather ahead of that storm, a lot of rain. We were already saturated. And then to get hit with that kind of rain, that's really historic. When you get over anything over 10, 11 inches in a 24-hour period, it's historic. In fact, in the entire 1900s, we only had two storms that had over 11 inches, and the latest being Tropical Storm Gordon back in the early 1990s. Then in the 2000s, we've already had four storms that have done that, with the last two being Ian and Milton. So the impacts, of course, were very similar to what we had in Ian. You had a lot of flooding in the lower areas along the coast. When you have surge like we had, basically the wind pushing water back into the inlet and back up into the river, all of our drainage systems on the East Coast drain to the ocean, essentially.
Right.
And they can't get out, so to speak, when you have all that rain. So you have really a kind of a double whammy of tremendous amount of rain coming into the systems that weren't designed for that much rain in that short period of time. And then they can't get out because the high water out in the Indian River or Halifax River, Mosquito Lagoon, all being pushed in from the Atlantic Ocean. It just kind of, water just stops and then builds up and floods. And on the west side, and that was probably one of the differences in this storm from Ian, is the west side of the county took a pretty good hit, especially around DeLand, DeBerry, Orange City. Those are what we call closed basins. A lot of them, they don't really have an outfall to the ocean or anything, or to the St. Johns River. They're literally pockets. And when you get, again, that kind of rain, the pocket fills up, and then the difference over there is that well, then how does the water get out? Because there's no way for it to go. So then you end up with pumping operations, and there was a lot of that went on versus the east side, where eventually the tide does go out, and then that does pull the water out. So kind of the big double whammy, and then we did have probably 400,000 cubic yards of debris that fell, and trees and everything, because, again, the saturation, then with the wind, all those big, beautiful oak trees start coming down. And so we're in the cleanup of that right now. That's almost done, actually. I think we're going to be done with that cleanup here at the end of this week. And that's good news for getting it off the street. And also it's good news because FEMA gave an incentive for this storm to have everything picked up by January 11th, and they will cover all of our debris operations. And in the debris operations, just so you know, they're going to continue behind the scenes, because we bring it into a place, we still have to process that debris. In our case, it's ground into mulch and sent off. So that work will continue through the holiday and into early January.
George, I got an update today that we have picked up 346,000 out of that 400. So that's a lot of progress.
And by the way, that's in the county unincorporated. So when you add the cities in, that number probably climbs well over 500,000 cubic yards. So, when we get into these storms, I like to kind of use the analysis, at least out at our landfill or our stations, we probably pick up at its peak usually about a year's worth of normal debris a day. And that's what goes
right.
in.
Wow. That's a lot. George, we on this show, we typically avoid using the F word, but since you said flooding already, let's talk about that real quick. We're hearing a lot about that from the community and stuff, and I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes at the county. There's projects already underway. There's funding already dedicated. There's stuff in the future. So what can we look forward to in kind of the immediate future as far as us addressing flooding?
Well, in this case, because we actually had Ian before, so we were already moving forward with flood projects. A lot of our neighborhoods were built in pre-stormwater times. In other words, the modern engineering that's used today really didn't go into effect, a lot of the standards, until 1983. So anything built before that, a lot of neighborhoods don't have the infrastructure that new modern subdivisions have today. So the trick is we're going to have to go back into these areas and retrofit in. And that's, whenever you're doing that with infrastructure, it's very time consuming, very expensive.
Sure.
There is some good news in that, the county received a very large grant, over $340 million from the federal government. It was a HUD grant. And it's meant really to help those. The main portion is a kind of an addition to FEMA to help those whose house is flooded. And there's a pretty extensive program to go through with that. And we do have, I think, over 650 people that are taking advantage, homes that are taking advantage of that now. And that there's also additional money because they recognize, well, in order so that we don't keep paying these claims, there's additional money that or parts of that grant that can be used for infrastructure upgrades. So it's going to work out to probably in excess of $150 million.
Wow.
Will be into the community for infrastructure as well. Now that's going out. We monitor the grant at the county, but the cities are also a big part of that. They get a lot of the projects will take place in the cities where the flooding occurred: Port Orange, South Daytona, Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach.
You know, George, and I'm glad you mentioned the cities too, because sometimes there's that perception out there that government entities don't always talk to each other and don't always communicate and stuff. But that couldn't be further from the truth with this, right?
No, exactly. I mean, you start even these storms. We have actually an award-winning, nationally recognized emergency operations center that brings everybody together there. During those storms, we have all the city managers in the county. We work together on a daily basis, sometimes multiple phone calls a day, working together. And really the cooperation, I think, is second to none in this area. We have a lot of experienced people in all levels of government that have been through these storms. And I think we work really well together. This grant in particular, like I say, we're monitoring the grant. We're helping the cities. We want everyone to be successful. And, we like to think at the county, everybody in the cities is also a county resident. So
that's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. George, I'll tell you what, let's take our first break, and when we come back, let's talk about a little bit of the progress that's going on at the airport and the Ocean Center.
Thank you.
Subscribe to the Volusia County YouTube channel.
And hit the bell icon to know what's happening in your hometown.
There are so many great places to explore.
And things to learn.
With over 1,000 videos available right now, the channel offers something for everyone.
Let's go!
Did you know we have countless features showcasing history, nature, wildlife, and recreation? Subscribe and hit the bell icon.
Or that we live stream important county meetings and workshops where leaders make decisions that can impact our everyday lives. Did you subscribe yet?
Or that we record our weekly radio show, Volusia Today, where we interview staff from the different divisions and departments across our great county, and they discuss the nitty-gritty of their field and expertise.
Go ahead, subscribe.
But that's not it. There's more. Subscribe and hit the bell icon and fully explore.
Score!
Good morning, Volusia County. My name is Michael, and you are listening, hopefully still listening, to Volusia Today, the Volusia County radio show. We have a very special guest today. It's George Recktenwald. He is our county manager. George, when we stepped into that last segment, we went straight into Hurricane Milton and talking about 2024 and some of the big impacts and stuff, and I apologize. I want to take a second and take a step back. You were talking a little bit about engineering stuff. You're uniquely qualified to do that, right? Tell us a little bit about your history and your experience with the county.
With the county? Well, I came to the county back in 1997, so I've been here for 27 years. And I have a background. I have a degree in industrial technology, and I worked with the Department of Transportation when I first came down here in civil engineering. I worked in the private sector for about 8 years, building and repairing bridges, elevated water tanks, piers, a lot of big civil construction. So I'm familiar with roadway construction, piping, all that. That's how I got started.
Yeah,
so,
it's always fun watching you interact with our public works people in particular, because you know what you're talking about. Yeah. And it's hard for them to get anything past you when they're talking about anything that's engineering, right, public works.
And we have a great team, so they don't really have to get anything past
well,
me.
Yeah.
But it is, it is my background. I started at the county out of Road and Bridge, and then I worked in the public works itself, which is, besides Road and Bridge and engineering, it's also solid waste and utilities, and so all the areas of public works. In fact, I got the opportunity to do the Ocean Center expansion. I was the project manager for that, and actually had to run the Ocean Center for a while that was going on. So that was a fun, experience. And then I got the opportunity. I thought everything was going to go back and be a normal time, but the then manager, Jim Nanine, asked me to help out with public protection for a few months. That turned into about 6 years. And then I went from there to deputy county manager and then the manager. So I've been all the way up through, and I've there's over 40 different work units in county government, and I've touched a good portion of them at one point or another, or worked with all of them at various times. So
it really does make you uniquely qualified to have conversations about every one of those areas, and you having the history and experience there is super helpful. You touched on the Ocean Center. Let's talk a little bit about. We were talking about 2024, and I look back. You said the word you used was it was a busy year. It was busy, lots of progress. I want to touch on a couple areas in particular. Let's start with the Ocean Center. Busy year there, brand new director. What's going on?
Oh yeah, well we brought in Lynn Flanders, and wow, she's knocking it out of the park. She comes out of Atlanta, that market, and council had directed that we add in. We've been very active for several years, many years really. We're very popular on the convention schedule with many good shows that come in that people don't really realize because they're private shows. They come in and they use our hotels and restaurants, and we're very well known for that. Council asked, though, that we add back more entertainment in between, try to fill the gaps that we out there. We do have an arena as part of the complex over there. And so we really worked hard this year. We had Bert Kreischer was one of our big headliners. We had Pablo Cruz. We've had other groups, many shows that are for the public, and Monster Truck Show. We had just recently had a NCAA basketball tournament. So again, there's a lot going on over there at all times. But we also had a record year with our conventions and shows as well. And so just couldn't be happier. If you haven't had the chance to be over that facility, people take a watch out there and try to get to a show.
Hey, in a couple of weeks, we've got January 9th, we have Jeff Dunham coming, and then on January 13th, the Globetrotters, they're coming back.
If you look at that Jeff Dunham schedule, he's playing big venues in big cities, so it's a privilege for us to have him here at the Ocean Center. And George, both of you just talked about just the variety of content and entertainment that's going on at the Ocean Center. Lots of people, who were born and raised here. They know the Ocean Center for graduations, and because that's where I went to 2 of them last year, But the reality is that building's busy almost every day.
Yeah, people don't realize it because it's not always open to the general public.
Right.
But yeah, there are things going on. I mean, we have national shows. We've had big Fire Rescue East is one of the bigger professional conventions that is with us. American Public Works Association rotates shows in, big equipment shows, engineering shows. So again, and those generate what we call heads and beds for our local hotel community, and it really helps our economy.
George, let's transition real quick over to the airport. I know it was a big year over there, several big announcements. What's going on and what can we look forward to next year?
Well, we've been constantly trying to build up the amount of flights. Of course, our longtime partner, Delta, they've been really the flagship airline for us. We have great partnership with them, and that continues. American. Those 2 airlines, you can fly to Atlanta and Charlotte and go anywhere in the world.
All right.
And we're very happy to have them. But the work that Cyrus Callum and his team have done out there, and Joanne Magley, they have worked hard and brought in other low-cost carriers to build a bigger schedule out of Daytona. So we're very excited about that. We started with Avelo Airlines. Avelo was, I think, founded by some of the same people that did Allegiant, and Allegiant now is one of the largest low-cost airlines in the world. I think Avelo is going to be following right behind. So they started out with flights to Wilmington, Delaware, which is really the outskirts of Philadelphia, and also up into Connecticut. And now they have expanded, and they're going to be going to Charlotte and the Concord Airport right outside Charlotte, which is another popular airport. But then another big excitement this year really was bringing on Breeze. Breeze Airlines launched with us in August. And we have flights that go to Westchester County, New York, just right outside New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, and Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. So we're very excited. That's another up-and-coming airline, beautiful new airplanes. We're very excited about what's going on with that.
So, George, we talked about the Ocean Center and the airport, big deal. Economic development was also very active this year in Volusia County.
Yeah, and segueing with the airport, the airport, besides what people see with those airlines, that's another thing. People don't see everything that's going on. I mean, the airport owns a tremendous amount of land around the actual, you think of as the airport. And on those lands, there are businesses that to generate a lot of jobs and revenue. And so, of course, our biggest partner is Embry-Riddle. And with Embry-Riddle University, right, there are big things going on over there, and they're our partner. It makes our airport actually, I think, the third busiest airport in Florida because of all the taking off and landings that are occurring with Embry-Riddle. But on the backside of the airport, we've been developing some land. We used a grant, what they call an EDC grant from the federal government. Mike Waltz's office had a lot to do with that, and certainly support from Tom Wright, Senator Wright. We secured the grant for $4 million, and we took our own economic development money and also partnered with the city of Daytona Beach, and we developed a large parcel on the backside of Bellevue. And when we say develop it, you get it to the right elevation, you put in the stormwater, and we had utilities, make it what we call pad ready in the industry. And sure enough, I mean, we weren't even done, and we were able to secure a new tenant, or Era. They're a French airline manufacturer who makes a hybrid plane that flies but also generates electricity as it's doing it, so it becomes a hybrid. They already have a plant in France, and they're already active in the European market. They're going to come here to the United States, and Daytona Beach will be their manufacturing base. And that's going to give over 1,000 jobs, averaging over $70,000 a year. So very good jobs. And of course, that's on the heels of what was happening over at Embry-Riddle, which we were also involved with. Embry-Riddle secured some very large grants and a generous donation from Hyatt Brown and his wife, and they put that together, and they were able to bring in Boeing and the Boeing Engineering Defense Group, and so that's very exciting. That's going to be 400 high-paying engineering jobs, and they're already in the process of bringing those folks here now, so it's very exciting. And again, I've always, Daytona Beach is one, they talk about the space triangle. We're one of the points in that triangle, the northern section. Of course, you have the Space Center, and then Orlando. And of course, UCF was established really to supply engineers and technicians to the space and aerospace industry. So we're very well situated for that work, and there's more, I understand, coming. So again, this is all good for us to get those kind of quality jobs, so our kids can go to school and stay here.
Right.
And the airport, I've said this a few times, I've said it again, they were named by FDOT the 2024 Commercial Airport of the Year.
Yeah. I tell you what, if you've not flown out of the airport here, George, I used to be the guy that would shop Jack's and shop, Orlando for prices, and I'd save $50. I'd drive all the way to Orlando to save $50 on an airfare. If you cannot beat the convenience, and time is money, right? You can't beat the convenience of being able to park, 100 yards from the door and walk straight in and spend 5 minutes in the security line and get on your flight here in Daytona.
Yeah, we're real proud of that. And a few years ago, we invested about $13 million into upgrading the terminal. And of course, besides being a very pleasing place to be. A lot of electronics behind the scenes was put in to make it easier for airlines like Avelo and Breeze to come in. We call it kind of common platform software. It's in use so that ticketing and that type of thing, they can kind of turn on and turn off quickly and make us more flexible and a easier airport for airlines to use as well. So that's a big part of our strategy.
George, that's a lot of news coming out of 2024. What, just a real quick, kind of in one or two sentences, what can we look forward to in 2025 in Volusia County?
Well, more of the same. I mean, one thing, the election, everybody that's on the council was reelected, so it's the same team. But also, county government, I think, is one of the more stable governments. The team that we have out there, department heads and division heads, very experienced. We are attracting great talent. And like I say, you're already seeing the fruits of that at the airport and at the Ocean Center and other places. So it's going to be a lot more of the same. We'll continue in the economic development, trying to bring in those high-paying jobs. We're constantly talking to people. You've got, in this coming year, too, a lot more infrastructure work will be done. We're right now doing a lot of engineering work that will eventually result in construction projects, especially in, of course, the stormwater area, also the road area. The two are intertwined. You don't do roads without doing stormwater, so they're both together. And then, of course, there's building upgrades that are going on. Some of the other behind-the-scenes things, we're finishing up some projects out of the jail. We had to modernize some of the stuff out there, make sure we stay efficient. So that's a lot of our buildings. We've done a lot of energy upgrades in order to also save money. A lot of conversions to things like LED lights and different type air conditioning, and use technology that's out there to keep our expenses low.
George, we are out of time, but would you please come back, not wait until December next year? And because I feel like we need a 2-part, 3-part show. We didn't get in. We got into a half of what we needed to get into.
I would be happy anytime you guys will set it up. We'd love to. We'd love to do it. Maybe we do a podcast of a day in the life of the manager. So
a day in the life of George.
We'll hold you to that.
I think people would be surprised in what that day looks like, because I get a glimpse of it here and there. But listen, thank you very much for your time. Have a great New Year's. And
you too. I hope everyone has a great holiday, great Christmas and New Year's, and everybody is safe. And that's what we're here for, is to make sure you're safe. So
that's it.
We will see you in 2025.
Take care.